for anyone watching who doesn't know who Russ Marland is, he worked at the record shop spinning that brought house music to Manchester, didn't it?
Yeah, it did indeed. Yes,
And he DJ'd at Hacienda.
it did. From the sins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I started at spinning 1986, and that came around from just going in there regular as a kid with a bit of money, trying to buy like music records, electro, funk and soul, that kind of thing. Sort of, I got into that, or I got into electro around '83 from listening to a mix on Mike Shaft's radio show just by fluke, and it was all Planet Rock and Africa Bambaataa and Pac Jam, the Johnson Crew, and all those sort of really spacey electro records. And I heard it, I was like, "What is this?" That was it. It's like an epiphany. So and from there, then I used to sit in every Sunday religiously and tape Mike Shaft show every 3 hours every Sunday. Did that
You
for
still got them?
got them all still. Yeah, I did
Have
it
you?
for 2 years every till his last show, which was I think that finished in '87, according to Greg Wilson when I spoke to him the other day. So
Yeah.
I've still got old tapes. I used to pause the adverts. I mean, there's a lot of people did. It wasn't just me, but there's a whole generation of sort of my age and a little bit younger that did all this and did it with Stu Allen as well. And and then they've gone through all the same things as I have. It's not, there's a lot of, there's a massive influence on everybody, Mike Shaft. Um, and it's to write all the tracks down on the inlays and all that kind of stuff. And then the next week you'd go to spinning because he got the records on that Saturday. You'd play them on the Sunday. You'd hear them on the show. And on Saturday morning, you'd be waiting at the door at 9 o'clock for spinning to open and try and get
Yeah.
the import that you'd heard the week before. Sometimes it took weeks and weeks and weeks for things to come back in stock, so you bought something else. But so from that, um, yeah, I ended up getting a job there. So pretty much just got asked if I wanted a job there.
Yeah.
That was from Harry, who was the manager at the shop. Who Harry was gay, which I didn't know at the time. That might have had something to do with him asking me if I wanted a job there. I was a bit young and green behind the girls and all the rest of it. But I was like, I actually turned it down because I was I got a job on a demolition company that was ripping out the Midland Hotel at the time,
Yeah.
and it was a 4 week trial. And after the 4 weeks, if you were good, you got the job. But I got sent. I got my marching orders after 4 weeks. I wasn't built for that kind of work. I'm built to work in a record shop, obviously, because I'm still doing it now. So yeah,
Good.
so I turned the job down, and then after the 4 weeks, the demolition company said, "Yeah, yeah, off you go." So I just went back to spinning and went, "Is that job still going?" And Harry was like, "Yeah, yeah." So that was it. Started the Saturday after, no interview, nothing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was a bit mad, really. So that would have been around '86. It's all a bit blurry, the timelines and stuff. I think it was '86. Just on the cusp of house music starting to fall. Well, it wasn't. Yeah, well, not '86, but it was like sort of '85 times. A few things had started coming through, like JM Silk Music is the key, and they were just other up tempo funk records, They weren't called house records at the time. I remember,
Yeah.
man. I've looked on the Mike Shaft tapes, and I've gone back. I went back through them all to find. I've got the track listings of all his shows, and so I went back and found the very first official house record
Yeah.
that he played on a radio show, and it was JM Silk Music is the key, and he played it in October 1985. That was the first time a house record, as such as a Chicago house record, had ever been beamed across Manchester's airwaves. It was the first time someone had heard one.
That settles a lot of arguments, doesn't it? A lot of
Yeah,
people feel the
yeah, and
first.
then from that, then obviously these other things started trickling through, and by '86 there was a lot more things coming. Like a lot of earlier house records, um, and it pretty rapidly sort of gained momentum and took off pretty quick, really.
Yeah.
But even through till like '88 and '89, there was still a massive sort of. It wasn't even with the '88 rave. I asked what do you want to call it, Summer of Love and all that kind of thing, and the Ecstasy
Yeah.
thing. there was still a lot of hip hop records played, and think all sorts of variants of. It wasn't just straight up house or acid house, trance dancing acid house all night. There was a lot of other music there.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of. I don't. Yeah, I mean,
I came into your shop at first, like used to save up our dinner money, and
right,
then
okay.
like
To spinning.
yeah, yeah,
Did you go
yeah.
to the one on Cross Street or the one that was in when it moved to the underground
I
market?
started at the one on Cross Street.
Right, okay, yeah.
I got a job in at NatWest Bank when you were in the Oasis.
All
So,
right.
yeah, I used to
Yeah,
come in.
the back of the boots, the back of boots, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes you take the piss because you'd have me like you probably won't remember, but I'd be shouting, talking to you,
Yeah.
and then you suddenly stop the music. You do it on purpose
We,
sometimes.
I
So,
think we
so
used to do that on
carry
purpose
myself.
quite a lot. I just turn the mute and everyone would shout.
Yeah,
I mean, it was yeah. I saw an old whole generation of young kids come through like into hip hop. Then a lot of them got into house. Some of them stick with hip hop, and they went through the Fat City thing and went that way. Like Votel and
yeah,
all that sort of guys. They kind of went off on that route. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's yeah. I don't know. I'm lost. Yeah.
yeah.
Ask
When
me
did
some
you?
questions.
Yeah, 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 yeah. When did you start working at Hacienda?
Well, that would have been 91. And by then I'd left. We'd all me, Harry, and Ken had left spinning. The guy who owned spinning was a tosser,
Yeah,
and so we all between us we used to buy in. I'm digressing a little bit from your question, but
yeah, sorry, yeah,
while we worked at spinning, we used to buy in. So like I remember when the guys LFO, the first LFO record, LFO, the guys
yeah. I
came
remember.
and packed up outside, and they had their own white label of it, and we just bought a shit ton of them off the car and sold them. But because we sort of bought those and we kept all the money, did that with Nightmares on Wax, Dexterous, because George and what was the other guy called? George and Ease, they brought that and sold it themselves, their own original pressing. So things like that, we kept all the money and we were putting it kitty so that one day we'd have enough money to scoot off and do our own thing. The biggest money maker was Kangol Hats. So
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
we
Yeah,
we we found out that the Kangol hat distributor was actually in Manchester, which was on Dale Street,
yeah,
believe it or not. So we used to buy all these Kangols and like we used to have it hanging on the ceiling. And all the white kids who were into hip hop like LL Cool J and all that shit, they all bought Kangol hats. So we sort of
yeah.
supplied
Go
all
on.
these kids. So we ended up with a load of money, like probably eight or 9 grand, something like that.
Yeah,
Then Harry went off and found this other shop, which was Manchester Underground, which was the back of the Corn Exchange, pretty much next to Conspiracy.
yeah,
And we sort of got that ready. And then one day we just didn't turn up for work and we opened our own shop.
yeah,
And
yeah. I remember that. I had my Kangol hat robbed in town. I couldn't
yeah.
believe it. Like people used to steal them in the Arndale, didn't
Oh
they?
God, yeah, yeah. I mean, they were prized possessions, them things. So anyway,
Yeah,
so that was about 1990, I think we sort of left and went there. But then, so 91. By then, Mike Graham, Tom, all the Hacienda DJs were buying records from us. Kath McDermott, Paulette. Um, they were all coming in the shop at the time. I was like Mike and Graham. I kind of looked after them, bagged them up records every week, so that
yeah,
they come in every Saturday and there'd be a big bag. They got first dibs on everything, so there'd be a big bag of records for them. They'd listen to
yeah,
them. And then yeah, one I think Mike had. I don't know. This bit's a bit fuzzy now, so I don't know if I'd already started warming up for Mike at the Hacienda. He'd asked me to do it, and obviously I was like, "Fucking hell, yeah." Uh,
yeah,
it was quite a. I remember the first night I was going, and I lived with my mate at the time on the height, but down in the bottom bit. I lived at his house, Pete Arm. Oh,
yeah.
Pete Arm. It was awesome three. So
Oh God, I forgot about them.
yeah, so Pete I
Yeah,
was living with Pete at the time, and I remember coming home from work and probably got home about 6 o'clock, and I just must have paced up and down the front room till I had to get. I had to be there for 9. I must have paced up and down for like 2.5 hours, like absolutely shit in my pants. So that was 91. Did it till 94. I did it. Mike left in 90, end of 93, maybe, or 94 when after that trouble with one of the birthday parties and David Morales and stuff, and they were
Yeah.
sort of chucking bottles at him, and none of the doorman did anything about it. And Mike went, right, that's it, I'm done. So I kind of got the main slot for a little bit for about 6 months, but it wasn't really working out. I just could, I kind of got a little bit. I think I got elbowed out, to be honest, but it was fine. If I hadn't
Yeah.
done that, I wouldn't have moved on to do my Hat and the Sticks thing, which started that same year.
That was in top modern.
That's
That
important. Yeah, I'm still doing that. I had the 30th birthday party a couple of weeks ago, so I've been doing that 30 years out in the sticks. That's
have
mad.
you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I only do like four a year now, or something like that. But yeah, it's quite an achievement. I didn't.
Do you know, I was having a look on your Instagram and your music page, and then a lot of people, when they say the favorite night at Hacienda, they say hot night or nude, but mine was void.
Mine
It,
was Void.
yeah, yeah,
Void was. I had Thursdays off work, so it was just for them. So Void was the best night at the
yeah,
Hacienda.
I loved
For
it.
sure. I mean, that might be because that was kind of like where everything sort of came together, the whole thing, So and we used to go. I think we used to go anyway on a Wednesday, and we just have a load of feed and drink about 15 cans of Breakers or Sapporo.
Yeah, break. I forgot about that.
Yeah, oh, it was just mental. We didn't used to dance or anything there. We were just like knobheads ballooning around in a club. And then I remember at some point that year, Mike came into spinning. And he was like, "Oh my God, I've had this new drug called Ecstasy. You've got to try it. It's amazing. You can only get it. You can only get it in London." And I was looking, I thinking, yeah, yeah. And I was like thinking, fuck that. I know it sounds a bit fucking bit, I don't know. I wasn't too sure about it. Anyway, so then at some point there was four of us. We used to go all to the house together, and this one night four of us were going to go. We were going to get a couple of things and then bring them home and take them at home where we thought it might be safe because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah,
And, anyway, so on the night, two of them dropped out, so it was just me and my mate who I lived with at the time, and we did the usual thing. We had a load of whiz and fucking drank a load of beers. And I was in the DJ box with Mike, and his guy came in, and he brought out, excuse me, I bought these two red capsules called Dynasties, and we kept them. We put them in our pockets. And we'll take them on. At 2 o'clock when the house finished, we necked them. We don't know why, but we thought it'd be a good idea to have them then. So we did. And then we went to the kitchen. It was the first time we went to the kitchen. And yeah, it was yeah, well, that was it then.
forgot that name, Dynasty.
Yeah. I think that's where Max or Mike did a record called Dynasty of Two. And I think that, I'm just surmising it, but I think that might have had some reason why he called it
Yeah, it's
that.
like an epiphany as well when you have your first ecstasy.
Yeah.
There's probably never been a music scene where a drug's gone with the music as well as
So,
it is.
so, so the thing is with it all, I mean, there's a million tales. Everyone's got their own stories, and
Yeah,
none of them are wrong because everyone's own personal experience. So what I'm saying is what happened for me, and and somebody, oh, that didn't happen like that, but well, it
yeah,
did. That's what it was for me. I'm not lying. It's just
yeah,
So, but we were us as a generation, we were lucky in that this new drug came along and all this new music came along and we were doing something that no one had ever done before and nobody knew what anyone was doing and it was just happening. It was just this thing. Whereas, now you've got nearly 40 years worth of anecdotes and stories and videos of everything. And, so it's like you kind of, you kind of know about it before you've done it kind of thing. Whereas when I went back then, it was nobody knew what was going on. It was just this thing,
yeah,
it was just like this beautiful thing that just all came together. But we were lucky there, really.
yeah. And it happened really fast, didn't it, Acid House? It was like you've got a story about when No Way Back came into the shop, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean that predates the ecstasy scene. So that was
Yeah,
'86. So I mean even for the first 2 years of like house music being around, there wasn't an e scene for it.
yeah,
It was just well, I don't know whatever people were taking at the time back then, but it wasn't there wasn't an ecstasy scene. So, but yeah. with the Adonis record, I there was a rule of the rules of spinning were every Saturday morning a new box of imports had come in and they'd been ordered direct from America. So you could never, as something new, you wouldn't risk ordering 10, 15 of it because it could be shit because you never, it's not like now where you can listen to everything in advance and order it because you know what you're going to get. You'd literally go, oh, the American suppliers go, we've got this, and this. And you had to, well, you get about three or four maybe just to test, see if it's any good. And then if they were good, if they're any good, you'd reorder it the next week and you get as many as you want.
Yeah,
Anyway, so the rule was the box would come up from London, flown into London, then it get a red starred up on the train to Piccadilly. You have to go and get it from Piccadilly. By the time you got back to the shop at like 10, half 9, 10, there'd be about 25, 30 people in the shop, and they'd all be DJs on the scene at the time. So it'd been like Owen D, Leaky Fresh, maybe. Ewan might have been there, Ewan Clark, Andy Madata, people like that. They were all sort of around on the scene at the time playing black music. And so the real was the box would get opened. All the new things, there might have been one, there might have been two, there might have been four. One got taken out of everything, and then everything got played in the shop over the speakers, and we'd all listen to them, and then we'd decide if we wanted to reorder them, and nobody could have anything until we'd gone through that process.
yeah,
That was the rule. And all, but then there was a pecking order. So if there was two records, there was not a cat in hell's chance that anyone on the cat was going to go to Colin Curtis, Mike Shaft, or other DJs like that. Maybe
yeah,
Colin got everything first, I think, at that point.
yeah.
Um, so this record comes on. I remember it was just white cover, black label. There'd been a few house records before, obviously, but this record came over the speakers, and everybody just was like, "I want that," and I was like, bit new and green behind the gill. I think I
Yeah.
might have had about six copies. And I just sold them out, dished them out to people in the shop, and they were gone. And then after the thing, I remember like Harry going, Where's that record gone?" I was like, I've just sold them all. So but I think it took about another 3 or 4 weeks before it came in. But obviously, the next time we ordered like about 100 copies of it or something.
Yeah,
So but there hadn't been. I mean, there'd been a few. Like I say, there'd been a few house records before James Hill, Music E, and Jack Your Body might have been out before then, and a few other things like that. But
yeah,
that one, sort of, that record when it came over everybody like just knew that that was something different. It was like it just touched a different sort of nerve with everyone. It's like it was just so raw, and
yeah,
it was just well, there's not many records like it, is there still?
yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's incredible, isn't it? And
yeah,
then there's like that I went to the Hacienda Feds and on Wednesday, and then that story got told again where a black kid handed Mike Pickering a record, and then it was no way back. Uh,
yeah. I mean, I know the story, and Mike's what's the word? Confirmed it, so it must be true,
yeah,
I guess. I remember, but this must have been, if that's the case, and Mike was already working DJing at the Hacienda doing his nude night. Then apparently that started I saw a flyer recently. That started in 1984, sorry, which I was quite surprised by.
yeah. I saw that as well.
See
Yeah.
that? Yeah, I was like
Do
84. So
you
anyway,
know?
yeah,
I like Urban Myths and them, but like Brendan who worked there, he was in a meeting and they were deciding what to call Friday night because he didn't have any acts, so they
right.
called it Nude. So I
Yeah.
always thought it was named after Nude Photo, like the Derek
No,
May.
okay, well, predates that. It was nude well before those records came out.
Yeah, yeah. He said like
Yeah.
it was just because there was nothing else on that night.
Yeah.
They called it
So
Nude.
anyway, Mike started. I remember Mike first time Mike came in the shop and he was like, "Oh, I'm doing this night at the Hacienda. I want some records." So he must have already been doing his night there, but not playing that kind of thing. I don't know what we were playing before.
Yeah,
Um, or he hadn't been coming and spinning. So maybe the kid bringing the Adonis record and he went, "Where'd you get that from?" And he went, "Oh, spinning." And then he might have come in the week. I don't know, but
yeah,
he came in. He's like, "Oh, I want some records." So that's how we kind of got to start knowing Mike and we just put my bag away every week. I think Ken might have sorted him out the first time, but then over time it was just I sorted Mike out every week. And that
Yeah,
carried on until he finished the DJing at the house. It got to a point where I'd take records to his house, I'd get a bag of records and I'd take them to his house. But he trusted my judgment that much on what track to play. I'd when I get to his house, the records. If you look on, if you can find any of Mike's records, they'll have a little cross either side of the mix. And I used to do that and then take him to his house and he'd just play them mixes. He wouldn't even listen to the
yeah,
record.
yeah.
He won't tell anyone that. So basically, I picked up most of Mike's records from the Hacienda in the last couple of years.
Do
Jokes.
you know, like it sound old saying this, but young people now, do you know like cross street spinning? That
Yeah.
was packed when it was down the stairs and it
Yeah,
was
it was tiny as
crowded.
well. It was probably what 6 foot wide, from between the counter and the wall, wasn't it? And it was long
Yeah.
and narrow. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could get 20 people in there probably.
And that buzz of discovering new music like that, like young people just won't get that now, will they?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different, it's an old, I mean, it's a whole different ball game now, and kids, kids don't know the born these days. It's like you had to put the work in. You had to listen to the radio. You'd listen to like no, you might hear something, then you'd have to go and buy it from the shop, and then if you bought an album, you'd have to buy an album on spec, and you'd take it home and listen to it, and you either liked it or you didn't. Like
Yeah,
now, it's like it boggles my mind. Like say Spotify or Apple Music, you can listen, you can absolutely there's like nearly everything that's ever been released. You can hear
yeah,
if you
yeah. You've
if
got it.
it's mental. It
Yeah,
absolutely is mad. You know that. I mean, it's great because the amount of music I'm finding, like, I kind of got into like Latin and Brazilian music a bit in the last couple of years, and I kind of
yeah.
knew about it, but I didn't want to go there because I know it's expensive. But for some reason, it sort of clicked with me a little bit more recently. So I've started just what I'll do is I'll put a couple of things into Spotify and then it'll just chuck another 50 at me. So then I'm like, fucking on Discogs. And I'm going, yeah, I'm not buying that one. Yeah, I'm not buying that one. Paying money. But that's how easy it is now to discover music. Where before you had to wait for a radio show or like John Peel maybe to play stuff, and then you have to do your own homework on top of that. Otherwise, to buy magazines and stuff with charts in. That's the only way you found stuff out.
I give Greenie a shout out because he was like one of the cool kids in my class, uh,
Right.
Julian Green, and then he got me into spinning really, and then
Right.
we used to like bring in the spinning charts,
Yeah.
so with the hip hop charts, and then if someone was in the top 10, it'd be good, and
Yeah.
then there was the house, and we were like, what the fuck is that? That sounds ridiculous, like house music.
Yeah.
And Jack the Groove was number one, wasn't it, on your
Yeah, I
chart?
mean, I've still got a few of them somewhere. They're in. I've got like three. I've got three folders of. Another thing that used to happen on a Saturday morning was everything got written in a book, so it'd be dated, and everything that was new that week would be listed as a thing. So I've got a chronological documentation of everything that ever came, all the American records that came into spinning from 1987 through to Manchester Underground to 90 till it shut, which was 2000, I think. So
Yeah.
that's like a chronological order of releases. So you can kind of say, well, that came out then for sure. So where was we going then? So the house records, and within that also, I've got a few of those spinning charts. Not loads because I think I got them from somebody else. We used to give them out to kids, and you'd
Yeah.
have a pile of them on the counter. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was just like whatever was the new, whatever we thought was. I mean, it was a chart, as in whatever we thought was the best record that week would get to number one. That was it. It wasn't
Yeah.
about sales or anything. It was like that's
Yeah.
the best record this week. That's number one now. That's how it kind of worked.
I remember like there was a massive hype about the LL Cool J album. I can't remember which one, but I had. Did have I am I remembering this right? There was a cassette version of it. The bootleg
Yeah,
of it.
most albums back then would have been on cassette as well. So
Yeah.
you got the import album, they'd have been a cassette, but the cassettes would have probably been UK issues when they released them on UK versions. The label would have done cassettes because they were quite a popular format still back then. Most
Yeah.
people had cassettes in the cars, didn't they? And a lot of people still had like boom boxes and stuff. So
Do you know as well? Like I've got it in my head. So you're going to be able to answer this, but like I've got it in my head that inputs were a fiver.
Yeah, they were. When I started,
Yeah,
my first import that I bought was 5.49, and when I went into spinning to buy it, I shit my pants. I was like,
yeah, yes,
"Have this
yeah,
record?" And he went, "Yeah, it's 5.40." And I was like, "I'm not fucking paying that." And I walked
yeah.
out, and I got halfway up Cross Street, and I like towards back towards the bus, and I was like, "Do you know what? I'm going to go back and buy it." And that was it then. So they were 5.49. I mean, and well, do you know how much they are now? An import, Jesus. An import 12 now is nearly 20 quid.
So if that was like, I mean, I could get my calculator and work it.
Kind of relative in price wise, but I mean, I think the difference is now that you can download that 12-inch for $2 from Traxsource or Beatport mostly. Most of
Yeah,
them you can download for 2 quid. So why would you buy it? Why would you buy a piece of plastic that's £20? Unless you
yeah,
unless
yeah.
you're a collector, which is well.
How many records have you got?
Probably about 12,000. I had a bit
Oh
of a,
yeah.
yeah, I had it.
Wow.
So I would have had if I never sold any, probably have about 25. But I was living at my mate's, sort of like late 80s, early 90s, and I sold all my pre-house records, sort of like from before 86 back, all my hip hop, all my electro. I wasn't playing it, and I was a man Hillhead, and I was just like mad into house. I thought, I'm never going to listen to these, and I didn't have any space, so I got rid of them all. That was about 3,500 records back then, and I well, the electro stuff, I kind of rebought a lot of that, all the early ones. That's what got me into it. So I rebought things like Planet Rock and Wild Style and Hashim and all those big records.
Yeah,
I rebought those when I started working at Vinyl Exchange. And then I had a cold during COVID. So when we were like when I was locked in the well, I wasn't locked in my house. I live out in the hills, so I was out every day. Me wasn't really in the house much, but I spent time going. I did like a pod a night and went for the start at the beginning. I went through just up to about 1992, 94, maybe 95. I got to about there, and I just weeded out everything that I thought I don't really like that anymore. And I'll probably never play it.
yeah,
So it's things like like all the Bones Breaks records and stuff like that. I just like
yeah,
they were good at the time, but they're just archives. It's just museum pieces, really. A lot of this.
yeah, yeah.
When I stop DJing altogether, I'll probably get rid of a shit ton of it. But as it is at the moment, if someone says, "Can you do this or that?" I can still do it.
It's worth keeping
Although that
that.
never happens.
If you can afford to keep it, I reckon it's worth it.
Well, see, this is the other thing as well. I don't. Yeah, if push comes to shove, if it comes down to money, then yeah, we'll definitely go. It's
Yeah,
the assets at the end of the day.
yeah. Um,
But I don't. So at the moment,
when Manchester go, I was looking at your page and the RA bomb, like you forget like that closed, that killed a lot of businesses, didn't it? That
yeah. That was. By that point, was it 96? Is it 96?
yes,
Yeah.
because it was
That,
Euro
that
96 at the same. England were playing Scotland that
right.
day.
Well, I was at Alton Tower with M people. They were on at
Was
Alton
you?
Towers that day. Yeah. I remember the news, and I just thought, oh, I'll worry about that tomorrow. I didn't think much of it. Didn't realize the gravity of it. And but to be honest, at that point, the shop was we were in a little bit of financial difficulty. Me and Ken sort of took Harry when Ken and Harry took the shop, but went to my Manchester Underground and opened it. I was supposed to be the manager, but he didn't have any business acumen. And me and Ken were just two kids who just knew what records were good and how to sell them.
Yeah,
We didn't know
yeah,
anything about business. So when Harry died, Harry died of AIDS, unfortunately. And during the process of his illness, he just he brought this. He just I think I looked in the shop checkbook and he'd spent 3 grand on a fish pond. you know, so he's lost his mind. So at the time, it was tough, and when Harry passed, the shop we were going to lose the shop. It was going to go basically. That was it. But then me and Ken had about 400 or 500 quid each between us, so we had about a grand, and we just ploughed it into stock, sold it. All the profit from that stock increased what we could buy the next time, and we did that, and we did that, and we did that, and did that, and we sort of traded ourselves back into doing all right.
Yeah.
But because we weren't didn't have any business acumen, we didn't consider saving up for the tax man and stuff like that.
Oh
By the
yeah.
time the IRA ban was coming, it was it was getting a bit dicey anyway financially. Um, and so yeah, I remember coming back from M People on the Sunday, and I drove into town, and I tried to get to the shop, and it was cordoned off. I think you could get as close as Victoria Station. You couldn't get any closer, and that's when I was like, "Fuck me, this isn't good."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think about 2 weeks later, they gave us an hour window to go into the shop and get whatever we could out. So I hired a van and just went in and got bits and bobs. The shop was quite big and it had a back room, and I had loads of original Hacienda posters on the walls in there,
Yeah.
and I didn't even think to take them at the time, so I lost all of them, like all of them. I'm devastated by that. But and then the insurance didn't want to pay us. They were like, they reckoned that the so because the Cornet Exchange had a glass dome building, and then because it had rained, the glass had shattered and it had rained and it all come down. We were in a basement, so everything had got wet. And they were saying, "Oh, well, that's indirect damage." I'm like, "What do you mean it's indirect damage? It's like it's direct damage. The bomb blew the windows out, and it's
Yeah.
direct damage." Anyway, they paid out after about 12 months, and I reopened in the what was the Coliseum at the time, which is
Yeah.
it's like a hotel, I think, or some kind of thing. I don't know, like a apartment hotels in the basement of the Coliseum. And I managed to drag it out till 2000, but I was just chained with too much debt from being short and the bomb and all that shit. So
Yeah.
I threw the towel in at 2000. You know, went and declared myself bankrupt and jacked it off. So I was on my own at that point as well because for whatever reasons that Ken, I've never really found out why. When I got back from the M People tour, I came back and I was ringing him, and he just didn't pick up his phone. He just did a runner,
Yeah.
left me on my own to sort everything out. So, but that, I don't hold a grudge about that. It's a long time ago. He had his reasons, which I
Yeah.
don't want to get into. But yeah. So, but it's all history. That's what
I
it
I
is.
I, I always try and end them, Russ, with like asking what your favorite track was. But I love your story about Lil Louie, French Kiss.
Okay. Well, yeah. Because people always say, "Oh, have you got a favorite?" I think when you like so much music, it's
Yeah.
impossible to have a favorite track. You can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, I can't. I can tell you some that I like a lot.
Yeah.
You know. So things like, and they're all from around the '88 sort of time. So Capella, Helium, Halib I still love that. Our Time, Our Theme, Kenny Jam
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. I
Jason.
forgot about that.
Kenny
Yeah.
Jam and Jason, Can You Dance? I love that. Coxo Club Bland Makes You Blind. I love that record. I've written a few down actually because I knew I'd forget. Guy Called Gerald, right? Voodoo Ray is a great record, but you don't ever need to hear it ever again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But Emotions Electric is just fucking a
Do you know
masterpiece.
what? I don't need to write it down. I can watch. I can watch the video.
Guy Called Gerald, Emotions Electric is
I don't
just,
think I've heard that.
oh, honestly, when you hear it, it's fucking ace. Annette Dream 17 is a great one. I mean,
Yeah.
there's hundreds of them, but the Little Lewis story. So that was I can't remember the year that came out without looking it
Was it
up.
88 or was it 18?
No, it was a bit later than that, I think. Anyway, so the story is there was a group of kids that used to come in the shop. One was called Anthony Acker, he's some relation to Joe Acker, who you remember Panacea, the bar
Yeah.
in town. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's those kind of people, and they all used to go to the Hass, and they were all mad into it. And there was another guy who his parents were Batesh Fox, the solicitors,
Yeah.
and he was having a graduation party in a, and they had a big house and a massive field in Cheshire somewhere. This massive field, and he was having a graduation party in this field, and they put up a massive marquee, and they asked me to DJ at it, and you know what? I can't even remember who else. I can't remember much about it, but that was on the. So this was on a Saturday night,
Yeah.
and Mike Pickering would have been invited to go. He wasn't DJing, but he was because Friday DJed on a Friday. So excuse me, he Mike was going, and on the Saturday morning, Little Lewis French Kiss turned up. No one had ever heard it. It was one of those things where it was the first time it had been in the shop. I was like, "Fucking, I can play this tonight." No one's who's going to be at this party will ever have heard it ever.
Yeah.
And I remember everyone coming up and the mic coming and going, "What the fuck's this?" But that was a crazy party. Yeah. Literally, it was a smoke machine and a strobe.
Yeah.
I think we turned it off. My mate actually had a fit from the strobe.
Yeah, yeah, you said that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, he was
know
just
people.
he was on the floor doing the dying fly. It's like, oh my God. So once we realised we were all right, we just carried on. It was fine. Yeah, crazy times.
There's not.
I think we got pulled on the way home as well from the coppers because I think I had a Peugeot 205, 20, what are they, a GTI 205 GTI at the time. A lot of like young lads whizzing around Cheshire in one of them, like got a pull straight away. What you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just in at this party over there, trying to look normal.
It got in the charts. I was just thinking, and I can't think of a track that's like it with an orgasm in the middle.
Yeah, there's been a few that have tried to do it since, but I mean, it was one of, and there was different. There was like there were cover versions of it as well at the time, which came out from I think there might have been a Belgian version of it. What was it called? It was very similar, but it was like just someone else made a version of it. I can't remember what that was called now. And there was Sheila. There was another record by Sheila called French Kiss, which was like a female version of it. I think
Yeah.
something like that. I'm not sure if that's right or not, but something like that. I think that was on Quark, the American label, maybe. Not sure.
We can Google it after camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got to stop recording now. Thanks so much for doing this, Russ.
All right. Okay. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it? We're done.
Yeah, yeah, we're done. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll
Oh,
stop
okay.
recording.